Good morning. So we're back to Monday. It's like this cycle, a Ferris wheel, right? So, anyways, I've started noticing like this nasty vibe in the air. And normally I don't watch the news, but I just so happened to see some stuff on the news. And I thought, man, people are losing it. So I just want to encourage you to kind of keep your ego in control. And most people, I don't think they even realize that that's what is driving their daily life, the choices that they're making, the way that they're comparing themselves to other people, the resentment that somebody else is succeeding and I deserve that. And it's kind of having expectations that we all deserve the same thing. And in reality, it's what you work for is what you're going to get back, right? I mean, you get out what you put in, and it's almost like everyone has forgotten this. And then everybody wants to be top dog, but nobody really wants to put forth the effort to be this boss type energy, because you're not just born a boss. It's something that you have to work for. So, like I said, I've just noticed that this kind of attitude is in the air. So just try to keep yourself safe and protected. Don't react to people's attitudes so much, because especially being around the holidays, a lot of people don't have enough in their mind. It's this whole life has been a money game, is what I've noticed. So when it comes down to it, our cost of living has gone so high. We live in something that demands a 2-person household. And I didn't realize this until I was a 1-person household, having to account for 2 and always still coming up short. So I can only imagine 2 people still coming up short. And I can sympathize with everybody, but at the same time, there's no need to get angry or violent or start putting people down and basically just giving up, because the world we're living in, it really does require hope and faith. And I think a lot of people have forgotten to have hope and to remember to pray. And like I've said before, don't pray for what you want. Pray and give thanks for what you have, because positive mindset is going to attract positive energy. So when it comes down to it, a lot of people, especially young people right now, they don't believe in the system. They don't believe in their parents. They don't believe in themselves even. And if you can't believe in yourself, there's really no way that you're going to believe in the world that you exist in, right? And I also have friends that are really hard on themselves, and it's choices that we've made in the past. It's the way that we lived our life before we realized how we should be living our life. And all I can say is stop beating yourself up. What's done is done. It's not going to change. To sit in regret or just keep mulling it over in your head, it's not going to change the situation. And yes, of course, your actions from the past might have hurt people, just like when you were younger, people hurt you. But when you can forgive the people that have hurt you, believe me, it trickles down. You start noticing that other people can forgive you as well. But if you're going to hold on to that resentment and that anger, then you're putting a block up for yourself. And it comes down to excuse me, like even with my family, I'm not going to partake in the holidays with them, and it's nothing to do with resentment. It's actually understanding the reality of my relationship with one of my parents. And it's more of a self-protective mechanism for me, because when it comes down to it, this parent does not support my decisions. It's like they don't realize I'm an adult. They talk bad about me in front of my children. They talk about my past mistakes, constantly talking about way back when, and not even realizing I've changed, that we all change. That's human nature, right? That we're going to do things when we're young that we're going to learn from, and we're going to either grow as a person, or we're going to make more choices that are questionable. But the thing is, if you're learning from your past, there's no reason why somebody should hold that past over your head. And it almost like it became a reality for me to understand that parent was a karmic person in my life. And that was one of the hardest things to realize in that moment, because this was my parent. And to realize that they never had my back, that they always stirred up drama for me, that they intervened in my relationships, that created negative tension in my relationships, and always made me question myself. It made me realize where that original abuse came from. And for the longest time, I had to be like, no, that can't be. Because my parent was so loving, so let me do for you, made all my doctor's appointments, really didn't let me think for myself. And then as I've gotten older and I realized I wasn't allowed to think for myself, I was taught to need somebody else. My voice was taken away by making me question myself. I didn't have any successes because I was compared to my sisters. It just, over time, I realized this is not healthy. And then when I saw the way that it was affecting my children, that's when I had to say, okay, no more. And it almost took me to a point where it was breaking me down as a person. And I felt guilty at first. And it's been months now that I've had no interaction. And honestly, my brain is clearer. I can choose better for myself. I can choose better for my children. My children aren't up and down on an emotional level. My children don't go see my parents and then come back and resent me or have a nasty attitude with me. And like I said, it at first was very hard because this was my parent. So this is just a reminder that you are not defined by choices that you've made in the past. You are not defined by what those from the past have to say about you back then. Because if they haven't taken the time to get to know you now, then what does their opinion matter? It should hold no weight in your life. And even if it's your children, it doesn't matter if it's your parent, your children, teachers, whoever, but people from the past that haven't really been present in your life, don't let them make you feel guilt. Don't let them use your past against you. Because a lot of people, they want the upper hand. They want you to give to them the way that you used to give to them. And that was openly, freely. You allowed them to step all over you. You allowed them to take from you. You allowed them to judge you. So when it comes down to it and you start finding that strength and that ability to hold your head high and stand up straight and kind of look past everything you did to grow from being young to now. When you start holding yourself up, people look at you in a different light because why are you doing that? They couldn't do it. That's why as adults, they were tearing you down because they saw something within you that they refused to embrace and strengthen within themselves. So when it comes down to it, there is a level of resentment, and that's really hard to deal with because we never want to consider that our parents are actually competing with us. And I don't know if this is consciously or subconsciously, but some parents don't want to see you progress past them because then in their minds they're a failure. Well, you did something I didn't do. And when it comes down to it, as a generational curse breaker, because that's where you do say, okay, I am going to make my kid's life better. And it's not necessarily on a monetary scale or vacations or better home. It's not these aspects. It's more of a moral understanding, ethical behavior. This is my point of view about the situation. More openly and loving in a genuine way, instead of putting on a front for the world around us. So when it comes down to it, like I said, one of my parents has a really hard time considering the fact that I'm doing things. Hold on one second. Okay, so that parent has a hard time considering that I'm doing more. And understandably, my parent says the same thing as a lot of parents I've heard. I did the best I could. And when it comes down to it, a lot of times it's hard to argue, you really didn't. But at the same time, that's not for me to judge, right? That's for me to look and say, okay, in their mind, they did the best they could. That's fine. In my mind, I'm going to work harder for my children. And it's not even the fact of I'm having to go out and do certain things. That's not, me working harder is not giving them more. It's me giving them more of my time. And a lot of us tend to want time. I used to tell a guy I had dated in the past, I want quality time over quantity time. And that didn't make sense to him at the moment. But when it comes down to quality time, you're spending time together, you're creating memories, you're helping each other feel better, you're working on projects together, you're building a loving home. And in his mind, he was like, but we spend all this time together. But he was playing video games while I was doing my own thing, and there was really nothing about a relationship in that aspect. So when it comes down, like I said, quality time over quantity time, a lot of people fail to realize this is what your children want from you. They don't want you to buy their love. They don't want you to tell them what they're doing wrong. They don't want you to buy them things when you go out of town to say, see, I was thinking about you. They don't want guilt being given to them. They want your real attention, your real time. And this is how it is even with our spouses and our children and our families. And getting closer to the holidays, this is where we have that reminder of family. And it's funny, it takes these little holidays to get together as families, because when I was little, I remember that we used to have family reunions, and I would see cousins I didn't know I had, and aunts and uncles I didn't know I had, and I could see how big our family was. And now these days, I don't know if people even do this anymore. If we connect on an outside scale, because everyone's busy with their own personal life, but in reality, what everyone's busy with is the concept of still being in the party, instant gratification, having a good time. So when we start getting selfish with our time, we're taking away from the whole, the concept of seeing one another, experiencing one another, sharing time, creating memories, being a part of something, which at that time was our own family unit. So we've gotten now where I can understand we have blended families, and this might take a toll on the aspect of family, but that just means you have a bigger family. And there should be so much going on right now to where we're celebrating one another and things that we're actually getting to do in this life, right? So when it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, we have to learn again to create that space for one another. And from a non-judgmental standpoint, we need to understand once again that we need to start celebrating what we have achieved instead of placing a value on what we're achieving. Because when somebody else places that value for it, it tends to affect the way that you feel about your successes in life. So understand that a lot of people aren't going to put you on a pedestal, which is great. You don't want to be on a pedestal, because if you're on a pedestal, you can be knocked off that pedestal. But even in the sense, a lot of people aren't going to acknowledge your successes, which is fine. You don't need anybody to validate your life. Hold on again. So the only person you're needing to validate your life is you. You're important. You matter. You're intelligent. And if nobody else is going to tell you this, you look yourself in the mirror every day and you remind yourself of this. Because as I've told many, many people before, believe me, I knew how to walk, talk, eat, sleep, all this on my own. I could breathe all on my own before you came along. That is the power of being yourself. So when it comes down to it, don't let anyone tear you down. Don't let anyone second guess you. And if you are unhappy being around family, don't go around them. There's something that is not being allowed in that relationship, and sometimes we have to take a step back from that relationship to allow others to consider how they treat us. And if they're intelligent, they'll work through this and realize their wrongs. And if they're arrogant, you didn't need to be around them in the first place. So try to be around those people that will support you, love you, respect you, appreciate you, instead of those that have a hard time understanding you're succeeding and they should be proud of you. So just going to leave it on that note, and hopefully everyone has an awesome day, even though it's freezing outside. I'm freezing. But talk to y'all later, and peace, love, and light. Bye-bye.